our current vice president, tweeted, "The people of Lebanon are facing an increasingly dire humanitarian situation. I'm concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon and will continue working to help meet the needs of civilians there. To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation to help those who have been displaced by the recent conflict. This brings the total U.S. assistance to Lebanon to over $385 million. Now, we won't talk about the billions of dollars that we've given to Ukraine, right? But if you live in one of these absolutely destroyed areas of the country, you get $750.
Yep.
What's worse about the $750 is how tone deaf it is.
Oh, yeah.
What is $750 going to do me when I have no food, no water, no way to contact anyone, and there's mud that will act like quicksand and kill me the minute I leave my house? Well, hello and welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ben.
And thank you for joining us yet again. I was kind of watching the news the last few days, which I don't watch a lot of news. Actually, watching the news is kind of a little bit of a misnomer. I wasn't really watching the news. I was just kind of checking out online. Things were coming my way. And just kind of looking at what's been going on with the relief efforts with Hurricane Helene, and then also the escalating wars that we have going on between Israel and now Iran, which you've got other factions involved. We're going to kind of get to that today. We're going to explain a little bit more of that. And kind of share with you how maybe this fits into some prophetic things in the Bible, Christ specifically talking about some things. And then the escalating war that is kind of getting now thrown onto page 2 between Russia and Ukraine. So we're going to kind of cover that stuff today. We're going to kind of cover, as the show title states, the state of affairs kind of in the world. As believers, how do we look at this and how do we, view these things, and definitely how do we view them through the lens of the Bible? So we're going to take a look at some of that stuff. But please do leave us a comment as you're watching today. We'd really appreciate it. So just a few announcements before we kind of get rolling into the show. If you guys want to watch the live stream through our website, again, you can go to thetfhc.com and just /live stream. That is our live stream link right there. You can actually go to thetfhc.com, and when you click on that live stream, you can actually look down below and you can see all of our upcoming live streams, and there's a little bell icon that you can click and it'll add it right to your calendar to remind you that there is a live stream coming up. Now, the thing to remember is if you're catching these live, you're only going to get about a week. Maybe you're going to have part of the live stream, and then you're going to be able to watch the live stream for maybe a week, maybe less. We're still trying to figure out what a good timing on that is. I'm not sure yet how that's all working. This is a new process for us. But then after that, the live stream is going to get taken down, and you're going to have to wait for a regular edited, normal podcast release. So make sure you join us live. It's a lot more fun, a lot more interactive. And otherwise, if it's a guest especially, you're gonna be waiting a while. I think about 10, 12 weeks, something like that. Yeah. And that time frame could maybe start to stretch a little bit. We're gonna try not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we're maintaining about a 10 to 12 week time frame so far. So we have some awesome episodes coming up for you guys. If you would go onto YouTube and just subscribe to our channel, that would help us tremendously. It takes all of 2 seconds. So if you go to youtube.com/@thetfhc, and you can do that there. I don't think I have a graphic for that one. No, maybe I should make that in the future, but yeah, we'll figure that out. So yeah, that would be awesome how you guys can help us out. All right, one last thing, or I guess a couple last things. We would love for you guys to join our Facebook community as well. So we would also love to be able to keep you guys informed into everything that we've got going on, all things foil. So sales, fun stuff we're doing, live shows. I'm boring Ben already. Ben didn't get enough sleep. He's probably watched Deadpool and Wolverine for the 15th time, and it kept him up. But you can head over to thetfhc.com if you want to get on our email list, right, on newsletter list. Just head over to thetfhc.com and you can actually just fill out the pop-up that pops up, and we're going to get you added to newsletter that comes out every week. You'll have a quick link to new shows, sales, and all that kind of fun stuff. And then also we'll invite you to the private Facebook fans group.
No, I was watching Unsolved Mysteries last night.
Oh yeah, there you go. The new Unsolved Mysteries, so good, right? Yeah. They get a lot of Robert Stack in on the last one with the Roswell one.
Okay, we'll watch those this evening.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's not as good as the original.
No, the original
was very creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy.
It's like just missing so much.
You know, it's got I think it's
too clean.
It's missing the creepy Robert Stack narration over the top.
It is. They really do need a narrator.
Yeah, it's still good. It's not as good as the original. So
we talk to a person.
I know, yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That experienced something strange.
Yeah, they need a creepy. There's got to be something creepy out there. I could do it. I don't know. Whatever. Well, speaking of creepy, Ben, what a good segue. If you want to get some cool merch, if you head over to the tfhc.com, again, you can click on merch and go to our merch store. We've got a cheap trick or treat sale that is going to through November 1st, and that's going to give you hoodies for $39.99, regular $45 down to $39.99. If you become a member of the show, you're actually going to get that for $34.99. So our membership,
I need to get that.
These are really cool.
I don't know if I want the hoodie or the t-shirt.
So the hoodies are going to be what we're going to be on sale here, but you're special. You get nice discounted, cheapy, what we pay prices, which isn't much lower than that. We're not making a ton of money on this.
And there's an awesome story about that.
There is. It's hard to see on here because it's really small, but on the graphic on the shirt right here, you can see this is a story from, I believe, episode 56. So if you want to know the backstory to the I Want You to Want Me hoodie that my awesome wife designed with our little logo on the t-shirt that he's wearing too. And it says episode 56. You can go listen to episode 56 and Ben will share a story that you will enjoy. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So enough of that stuff. Let's get into it today. So first thing we want to kind of cover today, because it's enough to make you unbelievably furious, is the response to Hurricane Helene. And it is disgusting. So, watching our federal government screw up is not even a word, but I think all of us have seen it by this particular point, and please keep the folks that are involved with this hurricane in your prayers, because they definitely need your prayers. But watching the response from our federal government, or lack of response from our federal government, has been disgusting. So from your perspective, what have you seen kind of watching all this? I mean, you've been probably less nap.
Well, I'm looking up what Helene means. What?
There's always something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, like we were talking a little bit upstairs before we came down, and, everything's a conspiracy these days. Is it really just a conspiracy? Is there really conspiracy here? Is this go back to HARP? Does this go back to the cloud seeding? Did we do this, or is this just a freak of nature occurrence? Or is it judgment, or is it, a decaying world like I suggested? You find anything good on what Helene means?
It means light.
Well, that's
shining
interesting.
Light.
Okay. Well, there's an entity that likes to go claim that he's the shining light, and it's not always Jesus. Satan likes to go.
Satan. Well, today in church, I was thinking, we were talking about this. Well, yeah, my dad was kind of talking about it in church.
Yeah, he got in there. It was kind of funny. I had no idea that's what he was going to get into, but he kind of got into some of the things we're going to talk about today.
My mind wandered to judgment.
Yeah.
Because anytime God uses natural, it's a judgment.
Yeah, it can be.
And so why not?
Yeah.
And it seems to flow with God. And before everybody gets crazy, and yes, God judges the good and the wicked at the same time.
Yeah, no, you don't get a magic hall pass.
No. And I think it's judgments of what our country's doing.
Yeah, because we're incredibly evil.
Yeah.
We are. We look around and you can see the wickedness in the lack of response, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the thing, is like how any human being at this particular point could even consider voting for this woman. I have no idea. If you are, I need to check your sanity. And that might make a lot of people upset. I don't care. Find some other channel to watch because we're not going to be the one for you. I can tell you that. This human being that is running for office, and if anybody that's watched the show for any length of time, we're not Trumpers either. We're not fans of any of the options that we have. No. Granted, at the end of the day, though, I have to set aside, my emotional feeling about any particular human being and just go off of their record of governance and, try to make the best informed decision as I can. It's just horrible that these are the only two options. But
it's sad that I have no emotional whatsoever for either one of them or for the government. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, whatever, let it burn.
Well, it's going to, because, and that's the hard thing, like we're in this time where like you can clearly read, because if we go this, it's so funny how many times this has come up on our show, because it's just the times we live in. We go look at Christ's words in Matthew 24, right?
Yeah.
And they're asking him what's going to happen. And all these things we're seeing are down the line. Just check.
Yeah.
That's what Christ told us was going to happen near the end.
I know this is not what we plan to talk about.
Well, that would be the first that we talk about something we plan.
Isn't one of the things all the stars would fall?
Oh my!
How many stars are falling? And I mean like Hollywood stars,
dude. The craziest thing. You and I've I don't know if we've really talked about this on air before. Maybe we have. We've talked so much, I don't remember. But I know we've talked about this like off. Yeah. But like the craziest thing to me is go look at like Cat Williams. How Cat Williams just went nuts this year and started calling all these dudes out, and was like, "Man, these people are going down in 24." Yeah, it's like he knew what was coming.
Yep.
And like, how did you know that, bro? Were you like a FBI informant?
I think I sent it to you. He was doing an interview with Larry King a few years ago, and he asked him if he had any spiritual gift, and I think he said foresight or prophecy or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I saw part of that. I didn't see that part of the interview.
Yeah,
I saw a very, very small part of that. The one where he really just goes off is the one with Shannon Sharp.
I know.
Holy cow! I mean, he is just lighting everybody up, all these dudes up. But I think he talked. I don't know if he talked about Diddy in there or not.
I think so. Maybe.
I can't remember. He was lighting up everybody.
Yeah, but isn't it fun? I mean, that's one of the things Jesus said: stars will fall.
Yeah. I heard an Eminem lyric for one of his new songs. Have you heard this?
No.
Where he basically spells out, he tries to do tongue in cheek, like he misspelled rapper and he left out one of the P's. And then he goes, "Oh, did he just spell rapper without the P? Did he?" And he's taken a subtle tongue in cheek jab, calling Diddy a raper.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stuff going down, but
yeah,
I know that's a side tangent, but all this stuff, again, it all ties together because we're seeing all these things, right? So the craziest thing to me, though, when you get in here and you start looking at this is the first thing that I want to pull up, because if you haven't seen this just tells you how idiotically tone deaf our current vice president is. And if you can't tell that I'm not a fan, I'm going to get probably fired up today because this stuff makes me mad.
Yeah.
So we're going to share this really quick. But this is what she actually said. I am live right now on Twitter. This is live. This is not made up. Here, I'll even scroll the screen so you know I'm not making things up. Okay, so you can see this. All right. She tweeted this yesterday. The people of Lebanon are facing an increasingly dire humanitarian situation. I'm concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon and will continue working to help meet the needs of civilians there. To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation to help those who have been displaced by the recent conflict. Which is hilarious because here we're backing Israel, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been even militarily backing them now. We're going to get to this here later, but that ties into the hurricane. We're going to kind of cover the hurricane first today. This additional support brings the total U.S. assistance to Lebanon over the last year to over $385 million. Now, we won't talk about the how many hundred billions of dollars that we've given to Ukraine, right? But if you live in one of these absolutely destroyed areas of the country that has been wrecked by this hurricane that came inland, you get $750.
Yep.
What's worse about the $750 is how tone deaf it is.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, what is $750 going to do me when I'm stuck in my house and I have no food, no water, no way to contact anyone, and there's mud that literally will basically act like quicksand and kill me the minute I leave my house.
Yep.
What's your 700? What am I supposed to make a land bridge with your 750? You're going to send it to me in ones where I can turn it into mucklucks and
do you know why? Because it's evil. They're ran and they're possessed by evil things.
They are. Our leadership of our government are demonic.
Oh yes,
they're evil.
I will say probably when they die, they are going to hell.
Well, if I was a betting man, out of all the odds in Vegas, I'd roll the dice on that one. I'm gonna put some hard money on that one.
I don't care.
I'll put $250 on red fire, please.
Yeah, I
red hellfire, $250.
They're all. I think once when you go to that city, you're done. You lose all morals. You lose all scruples.
Yeah, we're in Indiana, and we have a guy that's local. He was a senator, and now he's running for governor, and he's an idiot. His name's Mike Braun, and of course, they all rally together, right? It's party. Right. It's party before people now.
Yeah,
let's just make that really clear. Yes. And I don't care if you are claimed to be a Democrat or Republican. Make no mistake about it. Your party does not care about you. They care about their party. You are an afterthought.
Yeah.
A complete and total afterthought. These people do not care about us.
No,
all right. But you can see how tone deaf this is.
Yeah.
Like and then I think somebody probably called her out for it, because then she switched tactics. And here over the last few days, she has just been absolutely going bananas of all the hurricane stuff. So she finally got her butt down to where all this was going on. Right. And now she's just been tweeting and going crazy on all this thing that they're going to do, provide $100 million to repair I-40, major artery for the Western North Carolina. Some of these tweets too, they start off the same way, which is hilarious because they're all canned ham. Here it is. In the wake of Hurricane Helene, we're seeing the best of America. And then you can see it up here again. In the wake of Hurricane Helene, we were seeing the best of America. So they like copy and pasted,
Oh, yeah.
And this isn't probably her anyway. This is her people or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just sick because it's like all of these photo ops, right? It's all just photo ops. She doesn't care about these people, right? She cares about getting her butt elected. And she's down here doing all these photo ops, and there was a phone call. One of these has a phone call where she called
It's probably staged.
Yeah. It was totally staged. She had it on speakerphone, right? And there's a camera right in her face. And she's talking to like the mayor of one of these towns. And, hey, did we get the influx of food and water? Did we get that fixed for you? And she's like, well, it's been tough, but it's better now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes me so sick. Here it is. Here you go. Calls the mayor of Asheville. Let's see. Hopefully I can share that. Yeah, I'm sharing the audio. Maybe.
Were terrifically difficult because our highways were out, but we're seeing a lot of movement. All the effort coming in here and the attention on helping us through this right now is growing and tremendous, and we're really appreciative. And I really appreciate you giving me a call.
Okay, well, know that we want to do everything we can. And, I say as a devout public servant, I know how bureaucracy can sometimes get in the way of speed. So please let everyone know if there are things that you need.
My question,
as a devout, did that just make you want to throw up on your microphone?
That whole thing made me want to throw up. Because I don't believe in anything that I see anymore, really.
Oh, it's all, no, man. Hey, this is Satan's show.
Oh, it is.
Not our show, but the world is Satan's show.
Yeah.
It is. There ain't no doubt about it who's pulling the strings.
No.
It's all Satan behind the enemy behind the curtain. Yeah. It's like the Wizard of Oz, and Oz is actually Satan.
Yeah, that's true. He is.
But this is just disgusting. Like, this is, why would you do that? Like, you don't need to do that.
No.
Just do your daggone job, and you don't need to just let the
people in.
Yeah, let the chips fall where they will. If you're doing your job, then you'll be fine. This is sickening. She's disgusting. But anyway, I could go on forever. She sickens me.
Yeah.
So she's a disgusting human being. So, and I know there's people out there gonna be like, "Oh, Trump's no better." I'm like, well, okay,
no, he's not.
I'm fucking not gonna argue with you, but what I will say is I'm not seeing a lot of this. It seems like there's fairly genuine when he's doing some of these things, but who knows, right? He's whatever. He went back to Butler, Pennsylvania too. Did you see that? Where he's having a huge rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, I think today, where they tried to shoot him the first time.
Boy.
Yeah, like I can't in our lifetime, other than Reagan.
Yeah.
Two assassination attempts on a potential presidential candidate.
Yeah.
Granted, the second one seemed pretty sloppy, but
if
it's sloppy, shouldn't it be easier to stop?
Makes you wonder what's really going on.
Evil. That's why we're here, Ben. We're here to fight evil.
Yeah.
We're doing it our way here. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share that because it just highlights this person's mentality and they're touting the 700. It's so funny because it's like I made a comment the other day. Do you remember? I should have pulled the video up. A lot of people won't remember this because it's literally been 20 years ago now. But when Hurricane Katrina came through, it was like 2004, right? I think something like that. So literally it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
I remember they're having this telethon.
Oh, yeah.
The live telethon. And crazy Kanye got on there. And he's standing next to, was it Chris Tucker or was it Mike Myers? I don't remember. But he starts going off script and he starts talking about how George W. Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah.
And the response, they were dogging FEMA for the lack of response and everything else. Where are those people at now?
Yeah. They don't care. They don't care.
You know why? Because it's their team in office.
Yep.
Like, where are you at now?
Yeah.
Like, this is beyond anything that I remember from Hurricane Katrina. This is horrible.
Did you see the video of like a couple days before it happened? There was like black bears climbing the tops of the trees.
Or they knew something was coming?
Yes.
Yeah, they say follow the animals, right?
Yes, and the people are like, what's going to happen?
Always follow the animals, man. If the animals flee, you flee with them.
Yes.
It's like I remember the tsunami, too. That's like the animals were like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, they knew something was happening.
I'm gone. Yeah, they're not dumb, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sick. And I guess, there's a lot of reports of like, Adrian sent me something where it was, a guy was going in on a private helicopter and rescuing people from the rooftops.
Yeah.
Rescuing people from the rooftops. And FEMA called him, or local law enforcement, or somebody called him. I forget who it was. I don't want to misquote it. And they told him, you fly in again, we're going to arrest you.
For what?
For saving people. Because like FEMA is like locked down everything. And it's like, shouldn't you take, you know what, at that particular point, I'm gonna just stop there.
I was listening to a past show this week, actually Friday, Paganism and Prophecy, about Maria's dream. If you haven't listened, go back and listen to that one. Maybe it's going to come true.
We inch closer to the camps by the day.
Yes, we do.
By the way, if you don't know, speaking of FEMA, good old FEMA, go ahead and go look up FEMA camps.
Yeah.
Go take a dive into that one on your web browser, FEMA camps. And for those of you who don't know, FEMA has already long ago come up with all of the places where they're going to put people in camps if they had to around the country.
Yeah.
They've already determined that.
Yeah. It's nothing new.
Yeah. So Adrian found a copy upstairs in our library of Animal Farm, and she's going to go back and read it.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever read Animal Farm?
It's been a while.
Long time.
Yeah.
I just reread it here recently, and when I did, I was like, oh my gosh. It is so creepy.
Yeah.
1984 on Animal Farm.
Like it's their playbook, right?
It is. It's completely their playbook. It's incredible. So long story short, do what you can to help. Don't use the Red Cross. I'm going to tell you that right now. Probably going to get in trouble for that. The reason I say that is because the Red Cross has quite a sordid history that go dig into that too.
Yeah.
Not a good organization to donate your money to.
I've heard some stories from guys, personal stories they had from Red Cross. So
yeah. So I can tell you that the Red Cross is definitely a profitable entity.
Yeah. A
very profitable business. Let's just put it that way, as a nonprofit. So find a good organization to donate some money to, or resources. If you can go down, then go down and help the best you can. Because I got to tell you, money ain't doing nothing for these people.
No.
Like, And I know that sometimes that's all we can do is like donate resources, money or whatever. But all these people are literally trapped in their houses and have been there for literally since the hurricane went through.
Yeah.
And have had no power. You just said that Dr. Joy Pugh's been out without power for 10 days now since the hurricane came through?
Yeah, that's what she posted on Facebook. Yeah.
Wow. It's a crazy time. Some of these people have gone like, I don't know how many days without food.
Yeah.
How many days without water.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can go a long time without food, but you can't go very long without water. You're going to die.
Yeah.
You are going to die.
And they don't care. The government don't care.
No, they don't. Well, they don't care. They want less of us anyway.
Yeah, they do. That's the plan.
So that's the master plan.
Yeah.
Which, and again, while we're in here, we have another hurricane barreling down.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, we do have another hurricane that's coming in.
What's its name?
I don't know if it's actually formed enough for them to say what it is. I'm going to pull this up and I will share this really quick. So this is a really cool site that I'm getting ready to show you guys, by the way. This is called windy.com. So check this out.
Everyone knows it's windy.
So yeah, you can see here, this hurricane is actually forming down in the Gulf of Mexico right now. All right. And you can see it's very clearly forming. And unfortunately, the Gulf of Mexico is nice and hot. It's probably starting to cool off a little bit, but it's the warm water that fuels these bad boys. But we're going to go ahead and hit the play button here on windy.com. So this is right now, Sunday, 5 o'clock, whatever our time, Eastern time. And we're going to just hit the play button and you're going to see this slowly take form, intensify in strength. They were anticipating a category 3, I want to say. So it's going to skirt the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula right here where Merida is, which is right there by Chichen Itza, by the way. And it's going to hook up and right into the bay, Tampa Bay. At least that's the last I saw. We'll see if it changes any trajectory based on what they're saying. Yeah, that is a direct hit into Tampa Bay. I'm going to pause it here. So if that literally does make landfall, oh my gosh, the eye is literally going into Tampa Bay. That is bad because Tampa Bay is extremely shallow.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole, for those of you who don't know, the whole west coast of Florida is very shallow. A lot of times there are places where you have to get out several miles before you are actually in deep enough water to not run your boat aground. And a lot of places they actually have to cut canals out into the deeper parts of the Gulf, so you don't run your boat aground. Again, like I said, but there, it's so crazy. You can go out there. For those of you who haven't been out before, you can go out a couple miles and you will literally see people with their boats parked and they're sitting what it looks like in the middle of the a like on lawn chairs and stuff. And they're because the water is just a few inches deep, right? Maybe shin, knee deep. Now, here's what a lot of people don't understand. So with a hurricane, you get a lot of the rain, which is what did all the damage where it kind of stalled out over the Carolinas and Virginia and, all that place there, Kentucky, Tennessee. The problem that you have here in this particular situation is you're going to have a massive storm surge.
Yeah.
All right. And when the water is already shallow like that, when the storm surge comes in, it's just going to push it that much higher inland.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the depth of water, right? So the flooding in this particular area could be absolutely catastrophic. Yeah. The other thing too is Tampa Bay has its own weather report a lot of times. It'll have different weather than you actually get in the Gulf of Mexico. So Tampa Bay the water could be very calm and the Gulf is very rough. And it's often very opposite.
Yeah.
And mixing those two together could be not good. So long story short, things can change, trajectories can change between here. And looks like this is going to make landfall probably about Wednesday. 9 o'clock at night too. That's terrible. It's going to be dark. People aren't going to be able to see. Oh, that's so bad, man. So bad.
Said it was close to Clearwater. That's where Hulk Hogan lives.
Yeah, actually,
I knew I could make a wrestling reference.
There it is, baby. That should be like your Brad Pitt eats food in every movie and things like that. You could just work in, some kind. Or who's the dude that dances in every movie he's been in? Oh,
Christopher Walken?
No, probably. But
I don't know.
Anyway, okay, so you talk about Hulk Hogan, right?
Yeah.
So Hogan's little place that
Hogan's beach shop, Hogan's Hangout. Yeah.
it's right here. It is literally right in this area right here off of 275. Maybe it's up here. Yeah, it's up here. It's right here. Because this place right here is a place called Whiskey Joe's. It's really cool. You can drive your boat up and your jet stream, and you can park and do whatever. But Hogan's place is right there too. So it's like literally right there. Boom. And the hurricane is going to be like right in that area. That's so bad.
That's crazy.
Thankfully, there is an MacDill. There's an Air Force base like right there. So hopefully they'll be able to help respond if the Air Force base doesn't get
Where's it going after it hits Florida?
I think it skips over and goes back into the Atlantic, and it kind of goes out from there is what the prediction is. So let's just go ahead and hit play, and we'll run it out here.
So it could technically reform.
Yeah, it could reform and then hook back in, but it looks like the weather patterns and the oceanic patterns and everything, which really kind of sucks. Looks like it's going to run over the Bahamas. And then it's going to kind of go out and fizzle out in the Atlantic in the cooler water. So, but yeah, windy.com. Check out windy.com. Pretty cool site. So anyway, you know what? Keep all these people in your prayers. Long story short, keep all these folks in your prayers. The people because the other thing too is, when you look at people don't understand how big a hurricane is, right? So if you look at this hurricane, we'll run this back a little bit, but you can see here.
Nope, not that one.
Not that one. Got a lot of tabs going. You can see here, how far these bands start to stretch as far as the weather, the rain and stuff. And North Carolina, all this blue is rain. It's rainfall, right? And you got Western North Carolina here, which is what's really been devastated. You got Asheville's right here in the far western portion, which we know I've seen in the news. But yeah, this bands of weather, depending on what happens, they could get a lot more precipitation, right?
Yeah.
So just keep all these folks in your prayers. But yeah, if you want to know why the North Atlantic is known as the most treacherous place in the world, there you go. You can see the storms that are constantly in the North Atlantic. But yeah, it's like a mega hurricane. It's pretty crazy. Obviously, Alaska is pretty rough too. But yeah, you can see. So yeah, there you go. My plug for Wendy. You're welcome, Wendy. So yeah, bad stuff. So while we're dealing with all this, another hurricane coming in, I think it's kind of like there's so much good. There's the overwhelming feeling I've had here lately, the last few days, is there's so much going on, and the world is in such a state of decay. Mm-hmm. It's like accelerating. It doesn't feel that way to you too. Like it's just every day. It's like there's something new, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and it just feels like the getting worse is happening a lot faster every day.
Yeah.
And, because on the flip side, I've been kind of reading and paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East. And for those of you that aren't aware of what's going on over there.
What's going on over there?
I think most people are pretty, they're kind of aware. They don't know the whole detail of everything.
Wait, I thought they were friends.
No, never.
I thought they liked each other.
They may like each other for a time just while they're planning new ways to kill each other.
Oh, I thought they settled that. I thought
you thought wrong, my friend. But this is I want to share this too, because this is going to kind of highlight, we're going to kind of cover some of the things that are going on over in the Middle East. And I want to get into something they're calling, because I don't think some people know about this and some people don't. But we're calling Operation Grim Beeper, which is horrible because this is the most ingeniously, wickedly, it's wicked ingenious, I guess that's being the best way to say this. So first of all, let's rewind a little bit. For those of you who do not know this, they have Hamas, when Hamas went in last October, because we're right at the year when they invaded last October, which was a national holiday. I want to say it was a celebration of the 30 whatever day war or whatever it was, 7-day war or whatever it was. Hamas leadership literally came out and said one of the main reasons they did what they did was they were threatened by the heifers, the red heifers that Israel had, and they were worried that they want to reclaim the mount where the mosque is.
Yeah.
Al-Aqsa Mosque on the dome of the rock on the Temple Mount. Okay. And by doing this sacrifice of the red heifers, that basically gets them closer, the Jews closer to being able to rebuild their temple. And the extremists and Hamas are literally, they were afraid that if they allowed this to continue and they didn't do something to stop it, then they were going to have one of their most sacred sites, which is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock, on the Temple Mount, wiped off. Okay. So I'm going to pull this up here.
I have a question, but I will hold my question.
Oh, that's fine. So I like this being able to share stuff. This is kind of fun. I mean, I could before, but here is the Dome of the Rock, by the way, on the Temple Mount. So where the Dome of the Rock sits is where the original Solomon's temple and David's temple sat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Supposedly. Right. So
you got to throw that in there.
Just allegedly. So when you go look at the flag of Hamas, you can see here that right on their flag is the Dome of the Rock. I think you guys can see this. Yes, you can see this here. So on their flag is literally the Dome of the Rock. Okay. So it makes sense. And if you think this, I'm making all this up and tying it together, you can literally go find this report on like ABC, NBC, mainstream news, where the leadership of Hamas came out and said that is exactly why we did what we did. It was one of the major factors into why we invaded on October. Okay. So as we move forward in time, it seemed like as things have gone on, of course, then Israel turns around and goes into Gaza. And I think the body count in Gaza, last I heard, was like 40,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting really bad. It's really high. They've basically like turned Gaza into rubble.
Oh, they said it was prophesied that it would.
Which if you go look, and I have a map here because I think it's good to have a map. All right. So let's take a little map so you can put this into a context to understand, okay, when we look at the Middle East. So here's your map of the Middle East, okay? Now let's zoom in, all right? Whoops, I want to zoom in there. Let's zoom in here. Oh, I really don't want to zoom in there. There we go. And you can get a little closer, all right? So you've got Tel Aviv here, you've got Jerusalem down here, all right? And you've got Jordan, okay? And you've got down here in the bottom part of Israel that actually connects up to, this is Egypt over here, okay? You've got Gaza, all right? And this is where all the Palestinians, quote unquote, which is funny that there people are considering themselves Palestinians. That's a whole backstory that we're not going to necessarily get into today, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. Just north of Israel, you've got Lebanon, all right? And then you've got Syria, which kind of hooks around Lebanon and is also connected to Israel. And Jordan right here is actually in charge of what's referred to as the West Bank. Okay. They're the ones that actually control the West Bank, and they actually control Jerusalem. Okay. From a protection standpoint. So you can see over on the far right over here, this pink is Iran. All right. Just the other day, as the conflict escalates, all right, and they start with going into Gaza, then another group, because they're going after Hamas, is who did that, right? Another group, Hezbollah, that a lot of people are familiar with, decides that they're going to get involved and jump on the train.
Yep.
Hezbollah has long been funded by Iran. That is very well known, okay? And they have positions all over the place, but one of their biggest stations that they had is in Lebanon. Okay, so just north of Israel. You can see that's the country north of Israel attached right there, okay? So then they start attacking.
And what did I say at lunch?
What did you say at lunch?
I thought Lebanon was the friendly city.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, one of the towns nearest, for those of you who don't know, is Lebanon, Indiana. Quite different, and looks quite different than
and
Lebanon,
their motto
the country.
is the friendly city.
The friendly city. Not so much. Not so much here. So, okay, and then we get also they're attacking from Syria, which is also butted up right there, okay? And then if you ever hear the Golan Heights and all that, This is where that's where that's at right there. Okay. At where Syria and Israel connect. Okay. And then we start going after, Israel starts going after Hezbollah. In the meantime, we send ships over here to the Mediterranean Sea, which is the sea just west of Lebanon. All right. And we were shooting down drones, and we were shooting down incoming missiles that were being sent from Gaza into Israel, from Lebanon into Israel, from, I believe, Syria into Israel. And there were even some missiles that were shot all the way down here from Yemen, okay, which is on the southern portion of Saudi Arabia, sent from Yemen into Israel. Okay?
That's a long way.
Yeah, because Yemen also backs, I believe, not only Hezbollah, but also the Houthis, which is another terrorist group that has now gotten involved. So they're fighting 3 terrorist groups.
That's funny.
Yemen.
Houthis.
What?
The Houthis. That sounds funny.
Oh, just the name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Who thinks they're going to lose? Me do. Now, the cool thing about a little backstory here for you for Yemen, and you can see this attaches to the Red Sea, okay? And a lot of us are maybe familiar with the biblical story of the Queen of Sheba, right? Who came to see Solomon, I do believe, okay? You can see here the Queen of Sheba, they do believe that the area of Sheba was actually down here in Yemen.
That would be the Queen of the South.
Yes, exactly. And what would happen is this whole area here was a huge trade area. Okay. So people would sail up and down the Red Sea and have these various stops, but then the Queen of Sheba, who was known to be very, 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 very wealthy, okay, and they had a ton of gold and all kinds of stuff, was down here in Yemen. So they would sail up, and they would actually take the right fork of the Red Sea, all right, which is known as the Gulf of Aqaba, and they would basically be able to connect right into Israel.
Yep.
Okay. And they could go up to Jerusalem, and they could do their trading and everything else. Okay. Now, on the left over here, you actually have the Gulf of Suez, which we've now cut through to the Mediterranean to make the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
Now, the Gulf of Aqaba over here on the right is actually where the true site of the crossing is for Moses when they parted the Red Sea and they were fleeing from Egypt, because this is all part of Egypt.
We did a whole show on that.
We did. It's pretty good. That's going to be coming out here soon.
Yeah.
We had Andrew Jones on,
yep,
which is, you guys are going to love that show. It's going to be a really good one. So anyway, these guys are fighting literally like a 7-front war, right? They've got Gaza, they've got Syria, they've got Lebanon, they've got these different terrorist groups, they've got Iran, they've got Yemen down here that they're dealing with, right? And just the other day, as this conflict has escalated, Israel has now gone into Lebanon. I don't know if they're in Syria or not, but I know that they now have ground troops in Lebanon. Okay, they literally have invaded Lebanon because they were getting so many attacks from there. And then just the other day, from Iran, so Iran fired not rockets, but actual not missiles, but like actual ballistic missiles. So the highest tech, fastest moving missiles you can make. They fired ballistic missiles from Iran that had to fly over Iraq, over Syria, or Jordan, and into Israel. 180 of them. Okay. And the Israelis shot down a lot of them. And I think we also helped shoot some down from the Med. We have a couple carriers out here in the Med. Okay. So one of the things that Israel did, and Sherry, I saw your comment, beep, beep, boom. We're going to show a little video because this is, like I said, this is wickedly brilliant. What really fired things up, lack of a better term, in the situation, let me just pull this up here, it'll be easier. In the situation between these guys, all right, was in Lebanon. So one of the things that happened, I guess I don't need to necessarily share it. I'll just read it. It's okay. It's a Wikipedia page, so you guys aren't going to miss anything. Wikipedia. So one of the things that really made Hezbollah mad, because the Hezbollah is probably the most dangerous of all these groups because they're the most well funded. All right, they're the ones that are backed by Iran. So that and obviously Iran's been working with Russia.
I'm sure they're backed by us as well.
And wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. So we've been backing Israel, of course, out loud. But that's why when we read earlier that Dingleberry, that wants to be president, they want to send this money over to Lebanon, right? Because the poor Lebanese, and boo-hoo that they've now been invaded and everything. And it's terrible. The war is, for lack of a better term, hell, right? That's the term. War is hell. And it is. It's the closest that we can probably get to hell on earth. And, we're sending all this money over there while we won't even help our own citizenry to an efficient degree or sufficient degree.
Do you know why?
Because we're evil and wicked?
Yes. And also, who is our God? Baal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Baal is our God.
Yeah.
And
is that why we always bail people out?
Yeah.
No.
And yes. And he is a God of war.
I need my buttons.
He's a God of war.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep serving him, we are going to be in war, sending our innocent soldiers to war.
Yeah. And we have. Adrian and I were talking about this the other day. We are the most warring people on the planet.
Yeah.
If you go back, like we had World War I, right? And then we had World War II that we were involved with. Yeah. And from that point on, it was like we recognized that in order to be the most destructive and powerful military on the earth, we needed to continuously be involved in some kind of war to, for monetary gain, and then also for resource gain, but then also to keep everybody trained, which is sad and sick. So you go 1940s, we had World War II. Then we get into the 50s. What did we have in the 50s?
Yeah.
We had Korea. Yep. Then we get into the 60s. What did we have in the 60s?
Vietnam.
We had Vietnam, which also went into, I believe, even the 70s, early 70s, right? Yep. So then we get into the 70s, right? And then we kind of had a little lull in time where we were dealing with little things here and there. But then we get into the 80s, and we start going into Nicaragua. We go into Grenada.
I forgot about those.
We go into...
I bet Reagan forgot about them too.
Forgettable. Unforgettable. Then we go into Iraq, number one, right?
Yeah.
So then we get into the 90s.
Yeah.
And we continuously keep doing this, right? Yeah. We get into Somalia, and we get into all these different places. Ever watch Black Hawk Down? Well, that was during the 90s when we went into Somalia and decided to be the world's peacekeepers.
Yeah.
Right. And we wind up getting a bunch of our dudes shredded up. And then we get into the 2000s, and we go back into, we go into Afghanistan. We go into Iraq Part 2.
And what did Bush say? He goes, this could be a 20-year war.
Yeah. Right. And it was.
And the war on terror.
Yeah, it was.
War is terror.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I know.
And then they pass all these bills that just kind of castrate the American people.
Oh, like the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is a complete and total just breaching of our freedom.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's oh no, in order to keep you safe, we're going to have you give up some of your freedom in order to keep you safe.
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of gaslighting lies that they tell us in order to get this crap through.
Because they're serving Baal.
They're wicked.
Baal. That is America's God.
It is.
Not the Father in heaven.
No, we've turned away from him.
Yeah.
And
that's why we're getting judged.
And we are. And that's why, all of these things, you can make a strong argument for that's why all these things are happening. And Christ told us that's what was going to happen because we turned away from him.
Yep.
We reject God. We reject Christ. We turn to our own wicked gods. And you can go back all through the Bible, right? It starts in the Old Testament and just goes through this cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle. Where what would the Israelis do? They would get cozy with God, and then they'd start to turn away from God, form their own gods, and God would punish them, right?
Yeah.
Then they would finally turn their hearts back, and they'd get right again. They'd go through a period of time where they were good, and then what do? Do the exact same thing again. So God's like, you people you hard-headed, stiff-necked people, I believe is the quote from the Bible, right?
Yep.
And then we would go through the cycle again of punishment and redemption and punishment and redemption and punishment and redemption. And that's why God's finally like, okay, I can see what I'm going to have to do here. I'm going to have to send Christ down, and, Christ is going to have to come down and make the sacrifice. So you guys are good.
We do not need to be the world's peacekeepers.
No, we do that because I think we deliberately poke the hornet's nest to get it. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you right now. We've already said that we are going to help Israel.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to be involved with this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There's going to come a time. There's no way that this is going to continue to escalate to the degree that it is. And countries are not going to get invaded.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way. I can tell you right now, just basing, and I can't really blame Israel, right? From this standpoint, when you're surrounded by every country around you, for the most part, wants to kill you and wipe you off the earth.
Yeah.
You kind of have to play rough.
It's almost like our timeline we've been saying is almost accurate.
Oh boy, isn't it?
And we don't
here, Ben.
Yeah.
But I want to share this because this is, if you haven't heard of this, one of the major things when Israel's finally like, all right, we're done playing around. It's go time. When they decided to go after Hezbollah, again, Hezbollah is the one that is heavily backed by Iran. And this is what Sherry's reference to Beep Beep Boom was. And I said it earlier. This is Operation Grim Beeper. So, and this is completely ingenious. So for those of you that don't know, the Mossad, if you ever hear that term, that is like the Israeli CIA. They're probably a lot more efficient than our CIA. Then again, who knows? Our CIA is pretty efficient. They're just horribly evil. But these guys probably aren't much farther off. So the Mossad, in dealing with these groups, got ahead of things and actually got a hold of a bunch of pagers. All right. And also handheld walkie-talkie radios. Okay.
Roger.
Roger. Okay. And then they let it, so they get a hold of all these like thousands of them. I forget how many thousand, like 5,000, 4,000, 5,000, so a ton.
That's a lot.
They got
I didn't even know there were still pagers.
I didn't either. I did not know that either. So they get a hold of this stuff, right? And what they did is they put into these devices like 3 grams of this high explosive material. I'm trying to find it here. I'm struggling to find it. I forget the name of it. 3 grams of this stuff is all it took. Okay. So it's very hard to detect because there's so little of it, but it's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Mossad let it leak deliberately that they had infiltrated the cell network of Hezbollah. Okay. And on February, deliberately, they did this, right? To deliberately push the Hezbollah leadership to say, abandon your cell phone. Here's what we want you to get. We want you to use walkie-talkies and we want you to use these pagers that we're going to have you buy. So you can see here, I'm going to read a little bit from Wikipedia here. Some Hezbollah members had used pagers for years before the 7th October attacks, but more members began using them after February of 24, when Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, who's now dead, by the way, they bombed him, killed him. And I think they even killed his successor here in even this short amount of time. And I think they just killed someone the other day that they thought might be the successor to that guy. They are not playing around. Called on members to stop using smartphones, citing Israel's capability to infiltrate them. Hezbollah subsequently imported the pagers to Lebanon in the months before the explosion. Reuters was told the explosives were not detected despite the checks, and the pagers were still being distributed immediately before the attack. So this goes back quite a ways. So then on September 17th, okay, they sent a mass page to all these pagers. Okay. It's like beep, beep, beep. So everybody's pager goes off. And there was a delayed charge on these explosives, so the guys would pull them out and they would literally hold them closer to their faces.
That's genius.
And then they would explode.
That's genius.
And they said that a lot of these guys had their eyes put out if they didn't die. They were at least blind.
Yeah.
But they got like thousands of these dudes.
Yeah.
And they killed like 40 of the leadership. Something like that. 42 people died, 12 were civilians, and the rest were like a lot of either Hezbollah or leadership of Hezbollah.
Yeah.
So on September 17th and 18th, 2024, thousands of handheld pagers and hundreds of walkie-talkies intended for use by Hezbollah exploded simultaneously across Lebanon and Syria in an Israeli attack.
Is it really an attack?
Well, of course, the international community is like, that's terrorism. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. They literally, the UN came out and was like, well, I don't know. That's pretty shady. Like that could be considered terrorism. Like we even had former CIA people that were like heads of the CIA were like, well, I think that might be terrorism. And I'm like, so when you terrorize the terrorists, that's terrorism?
Yeah.
Like, screw that, man.
Yeah.
Let's call it war, baby.
Yeah. I do. And
I'm going to read this. As of September 22nd, 2024, 42 people had died, including at least 12 civilians. I'm going to show a video here in a second of one of these going off, and it's not graphic. So don't worry, but you get the gist. Including at least 12 civilians. The incident was described as Hezbollah's biggest security breach since the state-of-the-art Israeli-Hezbollah conflict in October of 23. The first wave of explosions targeted pagers and occurred on 17th of September around 3:30 their time, killing at least 12 people, including 2 Hezbollah members and 2 children, which is really sucky and unfortunate, and wounding more than 2,750, including Iran's ambassador to Lebanon. He had one of these pagers. What's that tell you?
Yeah.
Or was around one of them.
What's that tell you?
Yeah, he's not a good dude. The second wave targeted ICOM walkie-talkies and occurred on the next day on the 18th of September. So they did this twice, killing at least 30 people and injuring over 750. The explosions occurred mostly in Lebanon, as well as in several locations in Syria. There were chaotic scenes in the 150 hospitals across Lebanon and received victims from the explosions. So some of these went off where they had in places where they had other batteries and started fires, and they had these massive fires. I mean, this was just wicked. In February 24, Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah instructed the group's members to use pagers instead of cell phones. Again, the claim they infiltrated their network. About 5 months before the explosions, the Israeli intelligence agency, the Mossad, had secretly manufactured the devices, integrated the explosive PETN, which stands for, oh my gosh, I'm going to try this. Penterothritol tetranitrate. Boom boom stuff. We're just going to call it boom boom stuff. It's easier, Ben.
Not quite tannerite, right?
No, it's probably a little bit worse than tannerite, I'm sure. And sold them to Hezbollah through a shell company. They created all these shell companies to then sell these. They said they created two or three shell companies to sell these to them.
How
This is the best part. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. I apologize. International officials and scholars to the law of war have debated the legality of the attacks, with critics suggesting they might constitute war crimes or acts of terrorism.
How do they expect to get rid of the bad guys?
I don't know. Talk nice to them. Kill them with kindness, man. Send them puppies. These guys would send them puppies with tannerite stuffed up their butts. I'm like, listen, what are you supposed to do?
I know.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, if it wasn't for the international community, I think Israel would have wiped these people off the earth.
I know they would have.
They're exercising restraint because they don't want to have the world turn against them. But we also can see that it sure seems like, based on everything we read, that they're going to wind up getting mad and they're going to do something that's going to have the world turn against them. We'll see. But
yeah,
what was it? What was we read it on one of the shows. What was the was it Zephaniah, where it talks about Syria, Damascus being wiped off the earth?
I think so.
Now that's in Syria, but this is all part of that area.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
So the funny thing was, at first, they come out and they're like, you did this to us. And Israel's like, we don't know what you're talking about. We didn't do anything. And then eventually, a couple days later, Netanyahu, who's the prime minister, came out and went, yeah, we did. He's like, yeah, whatever. We did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's war. What do they expect?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And then listen, what would we do if we really had someone dedicated to wiping us off the earth? Do you think we would not do wicked, evil stuff?
We do that anyway.
Exactly.
My question, I'm gonna, if I don't know where these Hezbollah and these groups, where they are religiously.
Okay. Islam.
But if Israel's God doesn't matter, what's the point with them having the heifers?
Oh, well, I think from their standpoint, they are only worried they don't think they don't believe in any of it. They're worried that they don't care about that. They care about the fact that Israel believes in it and the Jews believe in it. So if the Jews are willing to go through with it, then the Jews are willing to basically wipe our sacred sites off the Temple Mount to build their temple.
I know. So definitely they are scared.
Oh, no doubt about it. And again, I'll try to do a quick search here really quick. I'm not gonna worry about it. You guys can search it. I don't want to distract us, but again, just go look up. I mean, the leader of Hamas came right out and he said one of the main reasons why we did what we did in October of last year is because they want to sacrifice these heifers and they want to run us off the Temple Mount and we're not going to have it.
Yeah.
The funny part about that is like, okay, so they got these heifers. Everybody knows what the heifers are.
Yeah.
Why don't they just bomb the heifers?
They're scared.
I'm like, what? But this is so crazy. I'm like, okay, so it's like they're just like peeing in the dark, just throwing crap against the wall to see where it lands. Because some of the stuff landed like in Nowhereville, right? It landed in the ocean. You can watch some of them land. The missiles they shot the other day land in the ocean. I mean,
that's so they blow up the cows.
Yeah.
Israel's going to be mad. They're going to definitely retaliate.
Oh, they're going to definitely. The other thing too, last I heard, I don't know, because a lot of this stuff, because there's such a time difference, happens overnight, right? Like we wake up and it's nighttime there almost. So like we're finding out what happened while we were sleeping. And the last I heard, and I haven't had an update today, if somebody's watching and they want to provide it in the chat, Iran was like, we're going to attack them again.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you guys are just. It's like there's no doubt about it. They are trying to start a widespread war
because they're serving.
That's right.
Evil gods.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you 1 second. 10 days. This the Hassan Nasrallah, the guy that was the head of Hezbollah, who told him, "Hey, stop using your cell phones and get these pagers." 10 days after these attacks, they blew him up.
Yeah. I'm gonna read something. Just kind of. It's from Deuteronomy. When the Most High appointed the nations, when he divided humankind, he fixed the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the gods. The Lord's own portion was his people, Jacob his allotted share.
Yeah.
So all of these other countries that are attacking them, they're attacking God's people.
That's right. They are. That's a true story.
It is a spiritual war that most people don't understand. So all these little 70 other nations, just because they're one people group, that means there's different gods in each one of those countries. That is attacking God's allotment.
Yeah. So we had kind of alluded to this earlier, and this is a good time to get into it because you do need to read some of these, again, the extra biblical text to get a more complete history so you understand what is really going on here, right? Because a lot of them, they don't even understand their history of what happened and how things are going on and everything. So we get out of the flood, just to give you a really quick run through history. And if you want to read that, you're going to get some of this in Genesis, but you're going to miss a lot of it because Genesis doesn't get into the details that you're going to need from a Western 21st century civilization understanding, right? You're going to need the Book of Jubilees. I'll just put it right out there. That's why I'm a fan of it. It's going to get into a lot more detail this. But when you come out of the flood, right, you have the brothers. Okay, you've got Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem is the oldest. You had Ham, the middle son, and Japheth was the youngest. Well, you've got a whole world that's just been wiped clean.
Yep.
Okay, so we have to divide all of the world between the three brothers. Well, Shem gets an extra portion because he's the oldest. That's how that worked. Okay. But what winds up happening is all of the land that we know today as Israel and a good bulk of even Syria, or not Syria, Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay. Was originally awarded to Shem. That was his portion.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happened was the three brothers, the three boys had sons, and they divided their allotment up among their sons. So everybody knew what they were going to get, and then their descendants would live there from that. Okay. Well, Ham's son, Canaan, which we can see is actually cursed after the flood, okay, by Noah for seeing him naked. There's people that think that there's more to that story. I'm not going to get into that today.
It's a good discussion.
It is. Maybe we'll make a show of that. We could actually make a show of that whole deal. But what happened was Canaan looked around and he didn't like what he got. Okay. And again, you can read this in Jubilees. He looked around. He's like, this sucks. I don't like my portion. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to take that portion. Well, the portion that we were talking about was effectively what would have been the promised land.
Yeah.
Okay. And the land that was carved out for Shem and his descendants, part of it. Okay. Well, Canaan went in, his brothers and his uncle and his cousins are all like, don't do that, dude. You're going to be cursed if you do that, and your descendants are going to be cursed. We made an oath. We made a promise to Noah, because they all go to Noah. They tell him how they're going to divide it up among them. Noah's like, okay, but you got to promise, take an oath. You got to say an oath that you're not going to kill each other and take each other's land. Oh, Daddy, Grandpa, we promised. We're not going to do that. Well, the minute he's dead, he's barely cold, right? And it's like, yeah, screw that. I want that. Yeah. So then Canaan goes in and he takes effectively what would become the, quote, promised land. Well, the way we read it in the Bible, we think the promised land is just this land that God magically picked out to give Abraham and his descendants. And it's not, because if you go back and you look at the line, Abraham is from Shem's line.
Yeah.
So what God is doing is he's righting a wrong that was done in the past that Canaan did.
Yep.
Okay. Which you wind up having all of these ites, right? The Philistines, and all of the giants and all these clans and everybody that winds up coming up, that the Israelites, when they go back to claim the promised land, after Noah after Moses dies, right? And they go back in.
You mean Noah?
Well, no, because fast forward. Fast forward to going into the promised land after however many years forward.
Yeah, you were putting them both in there after they died.
Yeah, sorry. So I guess to rewind, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Canaan goes in, he takes this land, he's cursed, right? That he took something didn't belong to him. Well, when you look at what starts happening after the flood, you get to the Tower of Babel. Okay. And then what had happened by that particular point, all of Mesopotamia, the arc that kind of goes from, I guess I got my map here. I can kind of use the map as a little bit of a visual aid for those of you that want to watch.
Yeah.
There, I think I'm on there now. Maybe not. Maybe it's not going to let me.
There, that's fine.
Anyway, it's not. Oh, there we go. And now it's letting me. So let me pull this out. So this particular area up here, okay, this whole arc that runs from Turkey, kind of cuts through Iraq and goes all the way down here to Kuwait and this Persian Gulf area. This was all originally Mesopotamia, all right? And you have and all these really old ancient cities down here in Iraq by kind of the Persian Gulf area, all right, down kind of near Kuwait and all this, all right? So we see the Tower of Babel start to spring up because Nimrod, is the founder of a lot of these huge areas, right? Huge cities. Then you have the Tower of Babel. Well, this whole arc right here, okay, that we can see, all this Mesopotamian arc started to worship the sun and the moon and all these types of things, right? They started worshiping these other gods besides the God of heaven. Well, Abraham grew up in these areas, and so he was taught to worship the same stuff, but he's the first one that kind of came along and was like, hey, wait a minute, why are we doing this? We shouldn't be doing this. Let's worship the God of heaven.
Yeah.
And so the Tower of Babel gets built, gets knocked down. They're still worshiping all this junk afterwards. And Abraham's like, no, this ain't right. And God's like, you know what? I can do something with this cat. I like you. Yeah. I'm going to make you my allotment.
Yep.
Okay. Because after the Tower of Babel, that's when all these guys get handed over to the other lesser G gods, right? And God picks out Abraham. And from Abraham's line, you get Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob. By the time you get to Jacob, then you wind up with the tribes, right? We break off into however many tribes. That's why what you just read is referencing him, because that's when we really start to get populated, right? Up to that point, it was only one person. You're the inheritance. It's Abraham. And then, no, Esau, Isaac. And then you go to Jacob.
Yeah.
And then Jacob has all the boys with the 4 different wives, and you get into all that. But one of the Arabs goes back to Abraham because he has Hagar that he has Ishmael with, and then you have Isaac, that he has with Sarah, who was his sister, half sister, by the way. You can see that in the text. It doesn't come out in Genesis, but it comes up later in Numbers, I want to say, or something like that, where he actually admits that it was his half sister. And Hagar and Ishmael, who she has Ishmael is the father, because God promises to make him a vast nation too. Well, that's where you get all the Arabs from.
Yeah. Right.
And so you just have these two factions that are duking it out with one another. You got Arabs on the one hand, and then you've got, Jews on the other hand, and then the line, the chosen line that comes through this, and God's allotted people. So this area that everybody wants to kill them for and take
is actually theirs.
Is theirs anyway. I'm like, it's a long way around to get there, but it's a fun history lesson.
Yeah.
And then the reason they call themselves Palestinians, this goes all the way back, like, I don't even remember.
Because they called that area Palestine.
They called that whole area Palestine before the creation of Israel in 48 or something like that.
Yeah.
47, 48, I forget what it was. And, everybody in that whole area, the area was just known as Palestine. That came from years and years of occupation by other countries that had nothing to do with this blood feud that happened. And everybody in the area before Israel was formed as a country was known as Palestinians.
Yeah.
Well, when they formed the country of Israel, a lot of the Palestinian people that were in the area that weren't of the line were displaced. And they kind of felt like they got kicked out of their home, which I understand, right? But there are no real Palestinian people.
Yeah.
It's just a term for everybody that lives there. And there's a great interview, Golda Meir, I think I've referenced it on the show before, where she's talking about, I'm a Palestinian.
Yeah.
But all of our passports or our IDs said Palestinian.
Yeah.
Before Israel was formed, because that's what the area was known as. So there's a lot of history here. I guarantee you a lot of people over there don't even know the history. I probably did a really poor job jumping around and sharing the history, but if you go into the book of Jubilees and you read, you'll find it all.
But going back to those nations that are rising up, those are all the gods that are rising.
Yeah, the 70 gods after the Tower of Babel, right? It's like, okay, fine. Y'all want gods? I'll give you all your different little gods for all your little areas that you guys have made, right? Because you've got the 3 brothers, and they start handing it out to all their kids and their descendants, right?
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the tower,
there was about 70 different people groups.
Yeah, that's about right. 70 kind of heads of the families, if you will, because I think Nimrod was like 3rd generation. So you got Ham, Cush, Nimrod.
Yeah.
So you're kind of 2 levels down at that point, where Ham was Nimrod's grandpa. So by that point, with the 3 brothers and then having as many kids as they did, it was probably about 70.
70 different groups, and they probably did have their own god.
Yeah, even clearly, like they were worshiping the sun and the moon. Was what they were worshiping in Abraham's area in Ur, right? And again, one of the stories you don't get the details of is he winds up leaving Ur, and at his father's request, Terah, who was his father, because his brother, who was named Haran, dies. Okay, they don't get into the details in the Bible, but it does in Jubilees, right? It gets into the details. But Lot, his nephew, was Haran's son. So they leave, they go back to Haran, Turkey, and God actually comes in and says, hey, like I said, you turned away from these gods and you want to worship me. I could do something with you. Yeah. And so he's like, hey, I'm going to make you my people. You're going to be as numerous as, the stars. And I'm going to show you this land that I'm going to give you. And then he starts taking him on a tour, effectively, of what would be the promised land, modern day Israel and Jordan.
Wherever his foot touched. Was his.
Yeah, and he kind of forms this area, which is exactly the area that should have been his by birthright anyway. So it's kind of a fascinating backstory in history when you get in there. But long story short, man, these people have been at each other's throats since the dawn of man, practically, and they're going to keep being at each other's throats until we're all in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the same time, things are escalating over in Ukraine and Russia, where Russia is allegedly just used their largest non-nuclear bomb.
Okay, you want to get
in Ukraine.
You want to get into some conspiracy theory?
Oh, well, that's what we do here, Ben.
Want to get some foily hat?
Welcome to the Tinfoil Hat Club.
Supposedly, I think a lot of people think Ukraine is where a lot of the Nephilim settled after the wars.
Interesting. Oh, well, that makes sense. It's not that far away in the grand scheme.
Yeah. And let's just say, and we know what demons are, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim.
Yep.
So let's just say that is, I'm not taking sides.
Yeah.
Because both sides are wrong. Death is killing.
Yeah, right.
Is wrong.
It's all counter to God's will.
Yeah. What it's turning into a spiritual war on all fronts.
Absolutely. Played out in the physical world.
Yes.
Which we've been saying since the start of this show.
I know. And it's like Lord of the Rings modern.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. All you got to do is read your Bible.
Yeah.
It's going to tell you everything that's going to happen. You just got to be able to read it and understand it.
Yeah.
But all the things that we talked about in there, man, they're starting to happen. And they're playing out like in real time every day, right in front of us.
Yeah.
Like it's you can't really deny it anymore.
No.
And it's getting harder to deny every day. And scientifically, we find out more things that just reinforce the Bible every day.
Yeah. So do you think Russia dropping this big bomb, what do you think that means?
I think that is you're getting our final warning before we bring out the real thing. I know your dad said that they had recalled a lot of their ambassadors around the world. I need to verify that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Not that I don't trust your dad. I just like to verify for myself.
No. Yeah.
Like Adrian sent me the Harris tweet. And she's like, you need to just make sure that's legit. So I went on our Twitter account for the show and I pulled it up and I'm like, yep, legit as legit gets.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. You can't, from a standpoint of you can't trust anything anymore.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't know if you've seen any of them, but on Facebook, have you seen the guy that's doing like the DiCaprio short little videos of like the deep fakes?
No, I saw like,
oh my gosh, dude, it is incredible. It's like it's shocking. It's not him.
I saw an interview with Justine Bateman. Remember her from Family Ties?
Yeah.
Her issue with AI. It's very interesting.
Interesting.
She said, okay, my issue is, she goes, let's say AI is like a blender.
Yeah.
And you dump 100 years of movies and televisions into this blender, you turn it on, you can make anything you want to.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was like, that's pretty interesting. She goes, you can do that with news articles, you can do that with photos. And I didn't watch the whole thing, but just that snippet put me in the mindset of what she's thinking. She's thinking, this is bad. This is a bad deal.
Yeah, it is, man. It's gonna our technological gains on all fronts are undoubtedly going to be our undoing.
Oh yeah,
we're not going to know what's real and what's fake.
And I seen a thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can never say his name.
Oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes,
say it 5 times fast.
I can't. No, there's no way. I'll just say the arrogant scientist.
You know, I saw an interesting video with him the other day. You know, where he seems to have maybe eased up a little bit on some of that. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
He said it'll come to a point in time where we won't believe anything.
Yeah.
Because of AI.
He's not wrong.
No.
Yeah. Some of what he says, I'm like, he just refuses to acknowledge for the most part.
It's almost, he's so close.
I know, it's all of them like that. I'm like, how can you be a Stephen Hawking and see the things you see and think that just happened by happenstance, magic?
Yeah, I know.
It's so, to me, that is a far, far greater leap of faith than to believe in a creator.
I know.
It's so. It's like, how can you be that smart and that stupid at the same time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, but they do. That's what they do.
They do. And just the fact that we're not going to believe anything we see. And maybe that's what Jesus said, will I even find faith?
No.
Will I even find belief? Because think about it.
It's so, I guess, I think the more mature you get in your faith, the harder it is for me. I'm just going to speak for me. The more mature I get in my faith, the harder it is for me to look at the immature Christians and go, how are you this naive?
Yeah, I know.
How are you this lost and this gone?
And it's not an egotistical thing. It's just, let me pull you up.
It's like, gosh, and we kind of had a conversation earlier about some of this, and I can get into, but it's just like, when I look at false messiahs and stuff, I'm like, when you can read clearly what's going to happen when Christ returns, you're not going to mistake it. No. There's not going to be any.
No,
I'm not sure if that's him or not.
Yeah.
If it ain't that obvious and he ain't coming on a cloud at the call of angels and trumpets and stuff, it ain't the guy.
Yeah.
But there are going to be many, many Christians who are like, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not. That's a little demon.
And I think
little fakey.
If you're truly of him, you will know, you will recognize.
I know.
As Dr. Joy said in our last episode, throw that out, about the DNA, we will know.
Yeah.
We will know our conductors.
No, that's good. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out that episode, definitely do with Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great episode. Well, I guess that's the state of affairs in a quick nutshell. We could go on forever.
I was so hoping there would be some goodness, some
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're fresh out of stock of goodness.
I thought this would be a good affair.
No. It's sad because, even simple things like, you want goodness, go get some ice cream.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while it lasts, because even the ability to do that is going to be gone soon.
Yeah. It's getting,
especially for us as believers.
Oh yeah.
It's going to get real hard.
Yeah. And I don't think America's church is not ready for that.
No. Here, kindergartner, here's an AK-47. Have fun in the war. Pat, pat, pat. Off you go.
That's how it's going to be.
It is. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of talk to you a little bit about it. I've taken a lot of the things that I've learned over these last couple of years, and I've sat down and I started writing a book. Yeah. And as I started writing, I was going to make it really about the whole Kinem thing and things. And
you can't. It's more than that.
It is. And what I've really found is it's turned into a much larger vision than that. Yeah. And it's ultimately exactly what you're saying. And I'm like, what am I going to call this? Because it's like the whole point of the book, what I'm finding is I want people to have the same spiritual journey that I did or experience with awakening. Yeah. Right. And it's like, I'm kind of leaning towards calling it Awaken the Saints.
Yeah.
But it's like the subtitle of it is preparing, America's, I forget what I said, it's preparing, Christians for the coming war ahead.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And I've got a book idea as well. It's like similar, but a different, probably totally different paths.
Yeah. Which fits on how we think different.
Mine is like a very, from the beginning to the end of how we got where we're at and how we need to turn back to where we were.
Yeah.
And
stay tuned. We'll let you know when the books are ready.
Yeah.
If I'm able to write for much longer before they start to censor me.
Oh, I'm surprised we might get censored on this one.
We'll see. If we do, we do. We're so close.
We're riding that line.
We've already said we're gonna do what we need to do.
I know. So. But that's what America is still great. We still have some freedoms.
Yeah, we do. And, it's like we do, but at the same time, I'm not stupid enough to think that they're not trying to figure out ways to take them away.
I know.
It's like they sit around all the time and just try to figure out what's the next chess piece that we need to move to inch closer to taking away their freedoms.
The oldest way to do
as you always say,
or newest ways to do the oldest sins.
I'm going to find this because we're going to end on this note. Oh my goodness. I can type.
If you can't type, how can you write a book?
And I'm like stretching, trying to stay in frame and everything. Yeah, he said, oh, of course, I got thrown through this fact checker. Long story short, Hitler made this quote in Mein Kampf, I guess, where it was like, the best way to take away a people's freedom is
A little bit at a time.
little bit imperceptible little changes over a long period of time. And before they know it, it'll be too late to stop it, and they won't even realize what happened.
Like the frog in the water.
Frog in the boiling water. Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. That's the state of affairs. It's not so cheery. But that's okay, Ben. We're going to keep fighting the good fight. We're going to encourage others to do the same and let the chips fall where they may. So,
that's right.
Thank you guys all very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on The Foil. Take care.
Bye.